welcome here to the Beals Insurance Studios in Bedford. I'm Nick Anastas along with Steve Beals. It's FNL Rewind presented by Beals Insurance, the Week 1 edition, the season opener, so to speak. And there's a lot to go over, a prime-time, grade A list of superstars joining us over the next 60 minutes. Roger Brown, senior writer from the New Hampshire Union Leader, will join us in about 10 or 15 minutes. Of course, Roger, also the founder of the NH Football Report, will go all across the state, all divisions with Roger, including a recap of our game of the week, a game Steve and I took in Friday night, Pinkerton at Londonderry. Speaking of those two teams, Lancers head coach Jimmy Lozon joins us at the bottom of the hour. Of course, the Lancers still in the honeymoon phase, perhaps, after bringing their first championship to the school in 21 years last fall. Brian O'Reilly is the other side of that coin. The longtime Pinkerton head coach will join us to wrap up the show at about 5:45 Eastern Time. Steve, felt good for us to get out there finally and see some football on Friday night. A great game that we took in between Londonderry and Pinkerton, two longtime rivals.
Excellent, and they lived up to the challenge. And as I said during the game and our broadcast, Nick, it's just incredible to the level of football that these coaching staffs and these players were able to put together for a good show to the fans that were there, for the viewing audience, etc. Boy, did we ever have a viewing audience last Friday night. Wow. Thank you for all those fans that watched us. We love that. Really jacks us up, and appreciate that. But just so many good games, Nick. We could have done, I think, at least 4 or 5 games in Division I that just went right down to the wire.
Right. A lot of drama. We'll take a look at the scoreboard in a few minutes. But let's recap that game. Obviously, a lot of hype anyway when it comes to Pinkerton and Londonderry. But with the season being delayed due to the COVID-19 situation, well, just more hype, I suppose, leading into that game. Of course, Londonderry, they got their monkey off their back last year, Steve, against Pinkerton by finally defeating the Astros. That's an all-time series that Pinkerton, by the way, still leads 32-9. But in the minds of many, Londonderry, the favorite last year. Of course, they ran the table. They won the Division I championship, and they were the favorites despite losing a lot of seniors on both sides of the ball. Londonderry struck first. They've got another McEachern at quarterback. It's Dylan's turn, and the senior did not disappoint. 28 carries, really the workhorse on the ground, over 200 yards, had a touchdown, a 65-yard highlight type of scamper in the first quarter to break the ice. And, he was pretty good through the air as well. 10 of 15, 115 yards, and a touchdown. He found his big tight end in the second quarter to give Londonderry a 13-0 lead. Pinkerton, though, had a big horse in their own right. Senior Evan Wilson, 2 touchdowns, both coming in the second quarter. Really a two-way star in the making for Pinkerton. One of those was a long run, a 41-yard touchdown run. That gave Pinkerton a brief 14-13 lead late in the first half. Londonderry, though, they did what Londonderry do. They go down the field very systematically. They get a field goal and take the lead before halftime. Really grabbed the momentum, I thought, at the break.
I think in today's football, culture and climate and what the game has turned in, even down to the high school level, with a zone read, with a more of a spread out offense, these two teams do the old-fashioned conventional things extremely well. And I really think that Evan Wilson deserves an incredible call-out as far as the quality of play, which he played on both sides of the ball. And seeing him at the end of the game, he gave everything. There was nothing left there. And he was extremely impressive, running the ball, picking the holes, accelerating through the line, as well as McEachern was really the lead driver on Londonderry. And the difference is that McEachern's a quarterback and Evans a linebacker, and both are extremely important. But when you've got a quarterback that plays an all-star game, most valuable player type game, generally speaking, if the other stuff is even, their score reflects that. And that's really. But Evan Wilson, really, what a terrific job this kid did, and the heart in which he plays. I felt bad for him at the end because he gave everything. You could see the last 3 minutes when they realized it wasn't going to happen. But boy, Evan, keep at it, buddy. You're going to be just fine.
Londonderry would add to their lead after a scoreless third quarter. Early in the fourth, Austin Hayden would add a short touchdown, and that would do it. Londonderry a 23-14 win, keeping their win streak alive, of course, that dates back to last season. Pinkerton begins at 0-1. Not a lot of time for these two teams to turn around either. A
No.
challenging schedule, obviously a shortened schedule. Londonderry is going to take on Salem, who had no problem, by the way, with Alvern this week. Welcome back to D1. The
Doesn't get
Broncos
any easier.
got beat down, but Salem and Londonderry on Saturday. We may, wink, wink, or may not have coverage of that one, bonus coverage on Saturday for you. But a good opening game, kind of an opening measuring stick. We got, I think, a good idea of where these two teams are after that Week 1 Londonderry victory. Again, 23-14 was the final.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember last year with McEachern, every time Londonderry, the score went up, he got a lot of second-half snaps. I don't think that hurt at all. Campos, on the other hand, did not get a lot of those snaps, and I think that you give Campos another week or two, maybe even this week, just getting his feet wet, just getting going, and I think he's going to be just fine. Coach O'Reilly's going to be able to continue to refine him and make some adjustments and things, and Pinkerton is going to be a very strong team. Don't take that loss as anything other than two great teams going at it. Londonderry just came out on top of the end.
We will speak with both head coaches, as I mentioned. Coach Lozon of Londonderry, 5:30 Eastern Time, bottom of the hour. Then at 5:45, Coach O'Reilly will drop some knowledge. All right, let's take a look around the scoreboard. First with D1, the big talk on the Seacoast, Steve, was Winnicott. A 16-13 victory over Exeter. That's a rivalry that goes all the way back to 1924. Winnicott has now won 3 of the last 4 meetings and wanted some revenge after Exeter put it on them last year, 42-14. But they got a new quarterback, Kyle Tully, a junior. He had a touchdown run in this game, and the general sense, it seemed like after the game, was, oh boy, Winnicott's back.
Haven't seen any highlights of that game. I did search a couple teams. I wasn't able to get any highlights of that game. However, when we went to the opener last year with Winnicott, they had a lot of injuries. It's just great to see that they've got a solid quarterback to lead that team. Always a good program. Boy, I'll tell you, when you play Winnicott, you better put your top pads on because those guys come out and hit.
Yeah.
Big trench play, outstanding coaching there. I'm just really excited for when a coach gets really excited about his quarterback because that's where it all begins on the offensive side of the ball. As for Exeter, let's see what happens with Exeter next week. Coach Ball is going to get, like Coach O'Reilly, the experience is just immeasurable. These guys are first-rate coaches, as everybody knows. They're legends kind of in New Hampshire, really. Yeah. I think it's give Coach Ball another week. Let's see what happens, who they face next week, and I'm sure they're going to get right back online.
Yeah, Exeter will be on the road at Dover.
Yeah.
In week number 2, Winnicott will test themselves in the division at Portsmouth Oyster River.
And from what I read and what it looks like is Coach Ball has 5 of his offensive and 5 of his defensive starters coming back. So he's got a good core to well run. It's probably just fine-tuning. But good. You got to really give Winnicott a lot of credit. You read the report on the coach. It was just such a big, after all this, the pandemic and everything else, it's just great for these to get that sense of feeling the community's coming back, and I think the head coach at Winnicott reflected that.
Good point.
Yeah.
Nashua North, they're on the minds of many. They were consensus number 1 in the Union Leader preseason poll. Of course, they went 9-0 last season. Their star quarterback, Curtis Harris Lopez, he said this year is, quote, going to be a revenge tour. Remember, he was injured at the end of the regular season last year, did not play in their quarterfinal loss. And now he's back as a senior. He had 6 Division I offers in the offseason, and he picked up right where he left off against crosstown rival South. 18 carries, 130 yards. Had plenty of help, kind of a group approach with the run game there from Coach Lorendi. Jaden Espinol, 57 yards and a touchdown. Anthony Green, kind of a touchdown vulture. Couple scores to go with 26 yards. Isaac Smith got in on the action, nearly 40 yards on the ground. So it's apparent North is more than just a one-horse team. They put it on South 24-7, and that defense held the Purple Panthers to just 136 total yards, 71 of which came on one play.
And with Coach Knight and his staff to hold them to that level, there's something good going on at Nashua North. Be interesting to see how South comes out of that, with their game next week. It's the same old thing. You're not going to keep that team down. But the thing about Curtis Harris, we saw him, Nick, 2 years ago, and he was just emerging very quickly. Everybody knew this was a special player. The other thing about is the intangibles with Curtis Harris is the other players look up to him. He seems to hold on to that role very cool, very calm, but yet he's got a fire in the belly at the same time. I would take the revenge tour as a lot of the feeling that he had inside watching his teammates without him, and he wanted to be in there so badly last year. You could see him on the sidelines there. He was so frustrated. So good for him. Get it out now. Looks like he's in midseason form, and it's just going to be – the key is he's got to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, Nashua's got a good team that Coach Laurenti's built around him. These guys are going to cause some serious damage throughout their schedule.
North will play host to Merrimack in Week 2. That is Friday night. That may or may not be our Friday Night Lights New Hampshire game of the week. Speaking of Merrimack, the Tomahawks got the job done at home, a 21-14 victory over BG. Merrimack usually on that short list of contenders,
always.
at least a playoff team in the minds of many again this season. And BG trying to build off some unexpected success from 2019, just didn't have enough on the road. Again, final there, Merrimack 21, BG 14.
Yeah, Merrimack, Coach Jackson, I mean, you've got to look at what happened in the previous years. This has been a building process. You could kind of see this team kind of taking on his attitude. He seems a very, very positive guy when we interviewed him.
Sure.
Outstanding. Certainly has the respect of the players. And this is a team that's a little under the radar. Not really. They're not. But watch them this year. It's all going to be about development. It's going to be injuries. But Coach Jackson's got his team rolling. So as far as BG is concerned, Coach Trisciani just keeps getting these guys. I understand they had a good turnout as far as players are concerned, but it's really with a short time frame, getting things rolling is going to be probably a little tougher because I know he's got some new players that are coming in that he's going to develop. But Coach Trisciani will do that, and be another team to be interested. Division I. I mean, I don't know what you think. It looks pretty good here. It looks like it's going to be a great year.
It's tough to find.
It is.
Really a whole lot of differential between the teams in that top tier.
Yeah.
Hopefully Roger Brown can shed some light on that in just a couple of minutes. Roger, of course, of NHFootballReport.com. A couple of quick scores before we bring in Roger. Goffstown with a win over Bedford. That was a road victory, 26-21 there. We said look out for the Grizz last year.
Absolutely, Nick.
Very young group that really took that next step. And
we would see them take on really top-level teams last year. And they would have their moments where they would compete extremely well and right on parity, and then the youth element of it would begin to slip away in the lack of experience. But there's no question this team's going to be a solid. To beat Bedford at home is not an easy thing to do, and they did it.
Yeah, Bulldogs. It's been a while since they've dropped a season opener.
Yeah.
So
at
Bedford
home.
in some unfamiliar territory, trying to get right against Central in week number 2. Goffstown is on the road at Alvern. We mentioned Alvern earlier. They are back in Division I for the first time in 3 years. Welcome back. Not so much. Salem a 46-12 victory there. No problem for the Blue Devils. And Concord, they lose to Division III champion Trinity by a final score of 22-7. That's obviously a big win for that Pioneer program.
Pioneers have been growing the last 2 years. You got to give Coach Cathcart credit and his crew. They've done a good job about developing that team, gone out and recruiting in the schools and stuff. They're getting some good numbers, and they've got some solid players that are probably Division I level players. But there's my understanding is they're doing pretty darn well in the trenches as well. So Trinity may be a team that maybe wants to take a serious look at Division II.
Yeah. Good stuff. Speaking of D2, final score before the break, Souhegan 20, defending D2 champ Hollis Brookline 0. So congratulations to the Sabres there for their shutout victory.
Looking good.
All right, a small, quick, short break. Roger Brown of the New Hampshire Football Report on the other side. Of course, Roger also senior writer for the New Hampshire Union Leader. He's Steve. I'm Nick. This is FNL Rewind. It's presented by Beals Insurance. We're back in just a moment. Well, back here at the Beals Insurance Studios in Bedford, Nick Anastas, Steve Beals with you. FNL Rewind can be heard every Monday, 5 to 6 live. The archives, obviously, are available on our YouTube channel. That is FNLNH Media, Friday Night Lights, New Hampshire. FNLNH Media is where you can find all of our previous broadcasts and games of the week. Joining us now is Roger Brown of the New Hampshire Football Report. Roger, of course, also a senior writer with the New Hampshire Union Leader. Roger, welcome aboard, my friend. How are you?
Very well, Nick. How are you tonight?
We are good. Thank you again for joining us. Pinkerton, Londonderry, we'll begin there. I saw you at the game. Your initial thoughts there as Londonderry begins the process of trying to repeat as champions in 2020. What did you make of the Lancers, and what did you think of Pinkerton in that 9-point loss as well?
I thought Londonderry looked really good, Nick, particularly for the first game of the season, really on both sides of the ball. I thought their defense really bottled up Pinkerton's running game, and Pinkerton's not known as a passing team, although they can throw it, but they really didn't have time to throw. Londonderry just pressured them when they were in passing situations. So I didn't really think Pinkerton got much going at all on offense. They had a long touchdown run, a long pass down to the one that set up their other touchdown. Other than that, they really sputtered on offense. And I thought Londonderry, they're not quite what they were last year on offense, but they still got playmakers, clearly. And the quarterback, Dylan McEachern, looks, just like his brother last year, run-pass threat. And, it looked like he was – somebody asked me, was he the starter last year? It didn't look like his first game as a varsity quarterback at all. I thought they looked very good.
Yeah, they look crisp in my eye as well. And as far as McEachern goes, about the same size as his older brother Jake. Same number, right, on the jersey, number 14. And as you mentioned, pretty much the same skill set as well. We know what he did on the ground, over 200 yards, but also pretty efficient in the air too, Roger. 10 of 15 for 115 yards. Talk about that dynamic with the play action and the pass game in general and what McEachern can do as a dual threat.
Yeah, I talked to him after the game, and he said, if there's one difference between my brother and myself, I'm more of a runner, and he's probably more of a, pass threat. But I thought they looked fine through the air.
Yeah.
I don't see why Coach Lozon wouldn't have confidence throwing the ball with him back there based on what I saw in that one game. He looks like he's got plenty of weapons to throw to. And, of course, if things break down, he clearly has a lot of elusiveness to pick up, avoid defenders and pick up yardage with his feet too. So, dual threat gets thrown around a lot, but he looks like he can do it both ways, even to good defenses would be my guess.
Hey, Roger, Steve Beals here. Hey, thanks again, as always, for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yep.
One of the things that I noticed, looked at McEachern is you look at those obvious things. The guy can pass. He showed that Friday night, and he clearly can run the ball. His elusiveness, those things you can see. It's the intangible things that I see in the relationship between him and he and the head coach, Jim Lozon, which seems to act as a common unit. Did you happen to see that relationship there? And it's almost at a college level, the way that Coach Lozon and McEachern were working together. A lot of second play calls, a lot of defense reading. Any comments on that?
Well, I just know that Jimmy, all coaching staffs work with their quarterbacks a lot, right? But Jimmy takes a particular interest in his quarterbacks. There was an older brother. Dylan's got two older brothers that I'm aware of that played football. So they're familiar to the Londonderry staff for a long time. I'm sure Dylan's been, in the program and known the coaches for quite a while. So my guess is there's a very good comfort level there between the coach and his quarterback, which you need. And I do know, from talking to him and from what others tell me, he's, pretty laid back guy, rolls with the punches, whereas his brother seemed more militaristic. Of course, he's at Norwich now, so that would make sense. Just very yes, sir, no, sir, by the book. And Dylan just seemed a little more loosey-goosey, so to speak, personality-wise. So that might, be a dynamic to that relationship as well. But whatever's going on seemed to be working, because he did not look like a kid who had never made a varsity start before. To me, he looked very polished in the offense, and you got to throw in as a short preseason, right? Too. So
Boy.
he's really had very little time to prepare compared to most first-year starting quarterbacks, let's say. Really can't say enough about him. I mean, I don't see why, he already looks like one of the better quarterbacks in the state.
He does. Other thing I noticed is coming out in the second half, it appeared as though some adjustments were made on Londonderry to really focus on Wilson. And they, he'd get out of the cage for, a couple of plays, and then they'd kind of shut him down. Seemed like a pretty good job by the defensive line, hitting the right gaps and controlling the line of scrimmage and kind of boxing in Campos so he couldn't get outside. I thought they did a nice job. Any comments on what you saw as far as game plans come out in the second half? That's what I saw.
Well, I thought both teams, Steve, to be honest with you, did a really good job defensively between the tackles.
Well,
Londonderry.
You always expect that with O'Reilly anyway, so I kind of had that as a given. I'm sorry. But
well, yeah, no, you're right. But the way Londonderry runs their offense with their option, usually they had the Wiedenfeld kid last year who, he was their guy between the tackles, right? A lot of the time, and they get a lot of yardage there. Kind of like the Naval Academy or Army with their fullback. It all starts with them. But I didn't think Pinkerton gave them much, and Londonderry certainly didn't give up much between the tackles other than, like you said, Wilson. He had one or two, but, you'll take that, I think.
Yep.
Overall, I think that was a good performance by the defense. And that combined with, like you said, they didn't get outside much, and really they brought the pressure in passing downs. He had no chance to throw the ball. No. It was a really good effort, I thought, by Londonderry on both sides of the ball.
What are your thoughts on Pinkerton? To me, I think they're going to be just fine. It's just they had to get past this week. What do you think?
Oh, I'm sure they are. They always get better.
Yep.
Just like last year, they lost the opener, and people were saying how down they were, and they ended up making the playoffs. And they got young kids. The Albert kid's only a sophomore, and Yanako's only a sophomore. It's two of their guys they'll be counting on in the backfield. So, again, and this year more than ever, the regular season doesn't mean a whole lot. It's all about how much you're going to improve between now and that first week of the playoffs, really.
Yeah. Roger Brown of the New Hampshire Football Report joining us here on FNLNH Rewind. It is presented by Beals Insurance. Other scores, Roger, from Division I, Nashua North. The consensus number one team in the state, no problem against their crosstown rival, Nashua South, 24-7, a Titan victory. Curtis Harris Lopez on the revenge tour, 130 yards on the ground. First of all, Roger, do you think North is deserving of that number one ranking at this point? And if so, how did they look Friday night in regards to being ranked number one?
Yeah, I voted them number one in the power poll that we do with the union leader, Nick. I voted them number one again this week. And, I think South is pretty good. So I think that 24-7 victory is better than most people might think. Curtis is obviously very good. I think he's better on defense than he is on offense, although defense doesn't get you the headlines. But they've got 6 or 8 other kids that are very experienced and very good. So it's far from a one-man show.
Right.
They were very talented junior class last year. So they're a notch above everybody else. And, for what it's worth, I have Goffstown as number 2.
Okay. Let's go there next. A 26-21 win for the Grizzlies over Bedford. What was the difference there?
Well, you got to be impressed with Goffstown's win. First-year head coach Nick Hammond, and they're another team that they're like North was last year. They have a very, very solid junior class this year.
Right.
And if people don't know him by now, they got a tight end, Peyton Strickland. He's like a baby Gronk. Big kid, gets the ball, and he's tough to bring down. And they just have experience. They growing pains last year. I say growing pains, but they still won their conference, even though they were, filled with younger kids. So they just bring back a lot of experience, and in particular, they're going to be up front as good as anybody in the state, offense and defensive line. Yeah. They're big and experienced and physical, and there's not many teams that are going to be able to match them there.
good underbelly program they have as well over in Goffstown.
Screaming Eagles.
Screaming Eagles. Have just the coaching staff and the at least the Coach Huff in the past. I'm sure it's the same with Coach Hammond. There's a good relationship, Roger, as well there. So that doesn't hurt.
Got to have it. Yeah, you need it.
All right, Roger. We'd be remiss if we did not mention Memorial, a 21-20 win over Central. An extra point was blocked that may have sent the game into overtime. Head coach Rob Sturgis enjoying the victory. Tell me a little bit about Memorial as well. It seems like kind of a young team. Obviously only a 1-8 record last year. In fact, that victory in 2019 was their first in 4 years.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So here they are at 1-0, the dawn of a new day, so to speak. With a very formerly proud program in Manchester Memorial. What should we expect from the Crusaders moving forward following that 1-point victory over Manchester Central?
Well, you'd like to see them string some more victories together, obviously, Nick. Even Coach Sturgis would tell you it's a rebuilding project until they can start winning consistently. And they ended a long winning streak last year with that first game of the season, but they didn't do much after that. But I think, beating a win is great, but beating Central, like that, your city rival, that's worth, like a victory and a half, because I think it's bragging rights and confidence that comes along with it. So I'll be interested to see how they do moving forward the rest of the season. Again, that's another team that's got, I'm not familiar with all their personnel, but I do know in some of the key positions, they've got guys back who started for them last year. And, you need these city teams, you need the Nashuas and Manchester schools to be good. It's just healthy for statewide football when those teams are good.
Yeah.
And Memorial, they've struggled for a long time. So I think everybody's is hoping they get it back to where they're competitive week in and week out. So it's to be determined this year, but obviously you can't ask for much of a better start than beating your crosstown rival.
Roger, unfortunately, we're going to have to end it there. We do not want to keep Coach Lozon waiting at the practice field. He is our next guest.
We got to have a group project where we're going to have Lozon, Roger, and everybody on.
The big round table.
Just tell him not to wear the red pants this year, please. No red pants for the team.
They get to you, Roger.
Good stuff, Roger, as usual. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll talk to you a couple weeks down the road. Thanks.
All right, guys, take care. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Again, that's Roger Brown, senior writer for the New Hampshire Union Leader and founder of NHFootballReport.com. It may
a go-to place, Nick.
It may be really the go-to place if you're interested in not just high school football, but football, period, when it comes to the state of New Hampshire. Again, that's NHFootballReport.com. Quick break. Coach Lozon on the other side joins us from the Londonderry practice field. Next, you are watching FNL Rewind, presented by Beals Insurance. Welcome back to FNL Rewind. It's presented by Beals Insurance. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Call Steve at 603-471-9999 today or visit BealsInsurance.com. He is Steve Beals. I'm Nick Anastas. We thank Roger Brown of the New Hampshire Football Report for joining in. And we welcome now Londonderry head coach Jimmy Lozon following the Lancers' 23-14 victory over their arch rival, Pinkerton. Coach, welcome inside FNL Rewind. We appreciate the time. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Again, congratulations on the win the other night. I guess we'll start with the off-season, the strangest of all off-seasons, of course, with COVID-19, all the restrictions that came with it, the delayed start time. Your overall thoughts on this whole process that brought us to finally seeing some game action last Friday night. How strenuous was that on you, your coaching staff? How difficult to navigate was it for you and your team?
That's a loaded question. It was definitely different for someone who likes routine and really enjoys the preseason process. To be without that was tough for myself and for the coaching staff, and I really think for our players. We try to be unique in how we handle our preseason, and I think our kids really liked the system we had. But at the end of the day, we really can't complain because we had the opportunity to play, and we're happy about that. We're just trying to roll with the punches. Our kids have been great. They haven't complained at all about the restrictions, wearing these face shields, spacing on the sideline, not having like a normal senior night, things like that. It was just they just want to play football, and they do a great job of it. At practice, they're following all the rules at the games. But yeah, it's been strenuous. That's a good word to use. But at the end of the day, we're just happy. Hopefully things will eventually go back to normal, but it is what it is. We've got to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and our guys have kind of embraced that.
Coach, you got a quarterback that has seemingly made this transition from backup to starter look easy. Dylan McEachern, of course, the younger brother of Jake, ran for over 200 yards. And as Steve highlighted earlier, traditionally it seems like you've had a special relationship, at least from a communication standpoint, with your quarterback. I would assume that kind of structure is in place again this year with Dylan. And how does he stand out a little bit in terms of personality and such? What's it like working with Dylan as a new starter? And is he ahead of the curve, so to speak, in your mind at this point?
So Dylan's definitely different than Jake, personality-wise. I mean, they're both good kids. I'm obviously raised in the same household, but just different. Dylan's very loose. Jake is almost military-like. He's he's all business all the time. Getting him to crack a smile, is difficult. And for Dylan, it's just he's very loose. He enjoys football. He has a great time with it. And so, I think we'll have a great relationship, as we usually do in our quarterback room. And I think I said this last year when I was on with you guys. Our quarterback room is really tight. We work at it all year round. I mean, they play other sports and stuff, but we always find time to do our meetings. We started our Zoom meetings as soon as baseball was canceled in the spring. So we've been preparing for this for a while. And as soon as they allowed us outside June 15th, we've worked every single day since, maybe a handful of days off, but we come down, we either have a meeting or we work on our run plays, we work on our pass plays, we have 7-on-7s. So it's a good relationship with all the quarterbacks. We have 5 quarterbacks in the room right now, and it's a strong group. They put in a lot of hard work. You guys saw Aiden O'Loughlin, who's our second quarterback. He had a great day on defense, and I think that goes back to, again, putting in a ton of work, working out extra. Just meeting extra and just knowing the game a little bit more than most players.
Hey, Coach, Steve Beals here. How we doing?
Good, you?
Good. Hey, one of the things that I was watching and admiring with Dylan, he may be a easygoing type guy, but boy, the decision making that he of when to run, reading his blocks, all those intangible things that a good quarterback has. Just your thoughts on that, because boy, for a first game of the year, minimal impact. I mean, think about it. No scrimmages. I mean, really, to come out and make those. I don't think. I think he might have made one bad decision the whole game, and I'm not sure it was bad. Just your thoughts on that, as far as his intangible qualities.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the program for obviously his fourth year. He did a great job as a freshman quarterback. He did a great job as a JV quarterback, and so that was the expectation for him as a senior to kind of have that same type of success. We've had to work at it a little bit more, throwing the ball, being consistent with reads, things like that. But running the ball is always has always come natural to him. So we've put a lot of work in. Yeah, he did awesome. He put the ball on the ground in the fourth quarter. We talked about that. He did, have I'd say maybe 2 bad reads. I know there's a couple of great balls he threw that we couldn't come down with, that we need to come down with. But, he did awesome. I'm proud of him. I told him not to read the press clippings though, because we have the toughest schedule that I could imagine. With this week Salem, then Bedford, Wyndham, and we end with North. So there's no time to sit back and reflect. We'll do that when it's all said and done. And I thought his brother did a great job of that, and hopefully he learned.
Right.
We don't need to read that kind of stuff. We just keep focusing. The great thing about football is that the game plan is drastically different the next week, and
right.
and so it's like, this is Salem. They run a different defense. They have different defensive back. We've got to make different reads, changes to our plays, and as long as he embraces all that and dives into it like the rest of our quarterbacks have in the past years, then he'll hopefully continue to have success.
It appeared on the defensive side, Coach, that when you came out the second half, I saw a real focus on Wilson, and it almost seemed like that somewhere in the line your adjustment process or adjustment thinking was, if we can contain Wilson, we can win the game. Is that correct? And if not, what was that game plan?
I got some unbelievable defensive coaches. They collaborated at halftime, and yeah, they do an unbelievable job. The three of them, my defensive backs coach, my linebackers coach, my defensive line coach, all do an awesome job. And we just made some adjustments schematically that we felt like would take the fullback position away a little bit. But it wasn't necessarily, Wilson per se. It was just that play that they burned us with earlier. We just happened to be in the wrong call at the wrong time. So we eliminated that, and we just kind of playing our game. The momentum switch was big. Great play call in the pass play by Coach O'Reilly. He kind of caught us tough defense to handle that route combo.
It was.
And then like I said, the run play was really just bad technique by one of our players, and probably not the best front call for that particular play. And you give them an inch and they take a mile. So of course they got that touchdown, and love to have those calls back. But they did an awesome job making adjustments. We talked about it. They were like, we got it. We know what we want to do. And I was like, all right, let's go with it. So I can't give them enough credit.
Yeah, did a great job coming out the second half, I think, to achieve what to give the offense the opportunity to eat the clock there in the second half. It certainly worked out well. Hey, I have an offensive question for you.
Sure.
That seemed to be a big emotional turn when you scored the touchdown, and then you ran in that extra point with that quick snap to your running back. What did you see to make that call? Was it something that was set up ahead of time, or was it just, hey, we practiced this, let's do it? What was it?
Yeah, so actually they called Dylan out at the 1, and so that was actually for the touchdown, that quick.
I'm sorry. Yeah, for the touchdown, right.
Yeah,
right. Yep.
Yeah, so the quick wedge play. Yeah, I mean, we've got that in. I guess, that's the next best thing to maybe a quarterback sneak for us. And it actually works pretty well because our running back gets some momentum going into that. That's been a kind of a staple in our offense for a while.
Yeah, you collapsed the tackle too. You had an unbelievable collapse of the inside tackle. You got good wood on him there, and that just opened it right up. But just a great play call. I enjoyed it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we were thinking that most teams are going to come in and be like, listen, anytime short yards, this is what they want to do, and so we have to have things off of that. But honestly, it's funny because it's the first thing we worked on when we had preseason camp this year. I was like, all right, get into this because we're going to be in a lot of short yards situations throughout the year, and we need some push. We need, and then we build beyond that, and we start to add things to it. And just like the rest of our playbook.
What didn't you like?
Expands.
What didn't you like when you went in on Friday night? I mean, I know you're tough on yourself. So what didn't you like?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things. Obviously, we had they're well coached, so you can't really live in anything because they're going to make
Right.
adjustments. So you got to kind of be one step ahead. But it's a fine line because if you find something you like, you want to keep hammering at it until they take it away. And the other night we found some things that we liked. They of course made some adjustments and we had to move on. There were some things that surprised me. With how much we were actually anticipating some changes to their defense because of the success we had in the playoff game. But they kind of came out very similar to last year. And we had prepared for a bunch of different things because we didn't know how they would adjust. That was the crazy part about this preseason was, we had no film. We kind of went in blind other than knowing Pinkerton for the most part. Obviously, we play them every year, pretty much twice a year. So we know them. We know some of their personnel, but we didn't know how they would treat it this year. So we prepared for a bunch of different things. And they came out in something familiar, and our guys, we have a veteran offensive line. 4 of them are back from last year, and it showed the other night.
Coach, final question. You host Salem on Saturday afternoon. What can you tell us about the Blue Devils?
As tough and rough as you could ever imagine.
Welcome to
the
Salem.
film I watched. Yeah, I know. It's like I'm waiting for that to maybe disappear at some point, but they are just so physical. They don't run around blocks; they run through blocks. So we're in for a battle as we are every time we match up with them. And I had my seniors talk to our younger guys and kind of let them know what they're going to see this week. The toughness, the physicality, and they just kind of have this attitude where they're going to come get you and you're going to have to do something about it. And so we've got to match that. We've got to match that energy, and then hopefully, we can take advantage of a few things along the way as we game plan here throughout the week.
Coach, best of luck on Saturday. Congratulations
Appreciate
on the
it.
Week 1 win.
Will you guys be there this week?
We may or may not. We're working on it. Let's say that.
All right.
So we would love to, for sure.
Always appreciate it, guys.
One
go
other
ahead.
final note. I guess a request from Roger Brown. He says it's time to retire the red pants.
Wow.
Do you have any retort to that?
That's cold.
No, it's not going to happen. So we'll, next time I find out he's coming, we'll be wearing them.
All right, Coach. Good stuff. Thank
luck,
you
Jim.
again.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Again, that's Coach Jimmy Lozon from the practice field in Londonderry. Lancers again, Steve, 23-14 winners over Pinkerton.
Yeah, the effort and the time that these two coaches we have on today put in are just incredible. One's obviously a legend, Hall of Fame, and one's in the becoming. And it's just these guys I know have a lot of respect for each other. And I just love to watch their teams play. I can't tell you enough. Every time you pick a game, whether it's Pinkerton or Londonderry, I always enjoy it because they bring out the best in high school football.
Two of the better programs.
Yeah, for
in
good
the state,
reason.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
All right, Brian O'Reilly, a man who I believe has 11 championship rings, and that's only in the sport of football. He joins us on the other side, the longtime Pinkerton head coach on FNL Rewind, presented by Beals Insurance, in just a moment. Back here on FNL Rewind. It's all presented by Beals Insurance. Nick Anastas, Steve Beals. We thank both Roger Brown and Jimmy Lozon for jumping in. And joining us now on the line is longtime Pinkerton head coach / athletic director, Brian O'Reilly. Coach, good afternoon. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. It's got to be one of the strangest off seasons of all time, right? I'd imagine you've been on the job for nearly 4 decades, and I'd imagine that you've never prepared yourself for anything quite like what this country really has been through the last 6 months. Give me a little bit of the inner workings during this pandemic time for you, for the athletic office, for the football program. How have you personally been able to balance all that between the teachers, the faculty, the parents, the kids themselves? It just seems like a very, very big challenge for anybody. What was it like for you and your staff really over the last 6 months getting ready for the season opener, which fortunately we had under our belts now back on Friday night?
Well, it was an unknown situation. The truth of the matter is, after the spring season was canceled, the thought process was we are probably not going to have a fall season of any sport, maybe cross country, maybe golf, but beyond that, no. And most definitely, there's no way that we're going to be having football. This is the thought process back in May and June. And then it slowly started to change, and we started to look into things, and the athletic directors got together, and then it became, hey, maybe we can run some sports. The governor had a lot to do with that, I say, with his rules and regulations and allowing teams to play in the summertime, baseball teams and soccer teams and such, because this state was in a lot better shape than others.
Right.
And I think that by having that, it kind of opened the eyes of other people that this is working right now for these teams that are playing in the summer. And so as every week, every day went by, it seemed to be open up more and more opportunities. And I would say it was somewhere around maybe the 1st of August that we thought we might even be able to play football. And we were ready to go. But then the NHIA stepped in and pushed the start of practice to September 8th, which I thought was going to be a difficult thing. I really thought that was not a good thing to do, because I thought we would have been able to get sports in August, and that would have given confidence to the schools that they could start school up. And this way, by waiting until school started, if it didn't go well with schools, I didn't know if they were just going to flip sports like they did at Wyndham temporarily, like they did at Spalding. But we're here now, and we're just playing it day by day, although we've gotten used to it now. But as far as starting in early September, it's been, wow, it's been surrealistic. For all the experience that my staff has and all the years we've been doing this, we really didn't know how to handle practices. We tiptoed around doing things and keeping kids apart and not touching the football until very, very later on. And we really put ourselves behind the 8 ball as far as where we were, where we needed to be, but where we were.
Right.
And that became apparent to me the other night.
Yep.
But that's the same for everybody. So it's not an excuse. It's just, when we were playing the other night, I recognized that we tried to put too much in without enough time to practice what we were doing. And we looked like a team that was in its first scrimmage after the first week of August, because that's essentially what it is. And so I'm glad we're playing football, and I think every team is going to get better and better as long as this continues, because we'll have more practice time available to us.
Coach, you mentioned the momentum had been building towards playing. Now that week 1 has gone off, seemingly without a hitch statewide, how confident are you that they're going to get in a full season moving forward, or is there still too many unknowns to make a I guess, confident claim either way?
I'm confident, but that's just me. And I'm confident because, as I said earlier, all these sports that have been playing since the summertime, the one thing, knock on wood, that we have not gotten in this state is a report that they've had to fold a team because the entire team has all of a sudden come down with something.
Right.
They have stopped sports in some of these schools because a cluster of kids at a party before school even started did something. But now that we've been practicing for almost a month now in football and in all of our other sports here at Pinkerton, and we really don't have cases. So, and that's happening with the other schools. When I talk to the other ADs, there's one kid here or one section here. If we've gone this long without it happening, I'm feeling confident that we're going to get the next month in. But of course, nobody knows.
Right.
Hi, Coach O'Reilly. Steve Beals here.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. I was listening to your description of your team and your awareness to the level. I watched the team the other night, and I listened to you just now, and I said, you're totally in tune with the group. Having said that, I think you've got an excellent football team. I saw some guys out there that may have been shortage of time, may not have had scrimmages, as you said, but they were leaving everything they had, and I think when this team puts it together, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I watched one guy in particular, a couple guys. I saw Ogier and Albert on the cornerbacks, and I saw them wrestling, shedding blocks, and making great plays. I saw a lot of good things out there, but one guy really stood out, and that's Evan Wilson. Last 3 minutes of the game, I felt so bad for him because I've never seen a player so expended on both sides of the ball, given everything he's got. So, if I'm sure you are, and I'm sure you know that you got a nice group of guys there, and I think every week you're going to get better and better and better very quickly, just because. But it did look like, you were adjusting your practices with limited period of time, and you started to block a little better by the end of the game. I noticed the sequencing of blocking and stuff started to get better. But those three players really stood out to me. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, thank you. They are good kids. Evan in particular is the heart and soul of our team.
Wow.
We've had him up on our team since he was a freshman, and I know it was a big game for him because his father, Tom, started football at Londonderry and played all 4 years for Tom Sawyer. So, it was a big thing in the Wilson family.
Yep.
But, and you are right. I mean, I probably used Evan too much. He's our inside linebacker and our fullback, and I kept giving him the ball. But he's that kind of kid who likes that. But that's not necessarily a good thing to do the very first game of the year. And as I said, I'm making adjustments to this, but I'm not whining because all coaches are. We're all in the same boat. But this has been a difficult thing for me to figure out. But certainly we went back to basics today, basics being like more drills than worrying about running plays. And so we will get better.
No doubt.
I agree with you because I know I have a good team. We're not a spread team. We're not a 7-on-7 all summer long doesn't do us any good.
Right.
We are what we are. We're like Exeter. We're like Salem. Like we have to pound the ball. And we were not doing that before September 8th. And we weren't doing that in the first week of we started practice. So we take a little bit longer than other teams to get there. But all that matters in the end, always, every year, even in this COVID year, is the end, not the beginning. If we get there in the end and we're in the playoffs, then we'll do what we can.
One of the things I saw the other night was I thought that Londonderry did a pretty good job of containing Nathan Campos. Having said that, normally I love your offense. I think I've made no secret about that. It's what I'd run if I was going to run an offense, and you do a great job of setting up plays, 6, 7, 8 plays ahead of time. And reading those defenses. One thing that you customarily do is a really good seam type play action pass. I didn't see a lot of those the other night. Was there a specific reason? Did you not have enough time to practice those things? Because normally you just nail people with that.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of passing attack in, to be honest with you. We've been focusing on
the running
plays and such, and I had to throw the ball a lot more than I was planning on doing.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we fell behind, even though it was only by a touchdown at first. We fell behind, and not a lot you can do, like trying to. And we weren't picking up big chunks of yards. We were getting the usual 3 to 4 yards. It would have taken too long, but
Right.
we'll get better with our passing attack because we'll add more and more to it. But
talk to us about Campos. Give us a rundown of what his strengths and capabilities are as he comes up for really playing is it his first or second varsity game?
He started one of the games for us last year.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Injuries.
Yeah.
So it was the second game. He's what you call a wing T quarterback. He can run, and he's a very smart kid. He understands the offense. He doesn't mess up plays, and play action is what he would be good at.
Right.
But again, we weren't running our what we've known as a waggle game. We didn't have any of that in.
Right.
We didn't have key passes in. We were, and maybe in some ways, arrogant to the point of we can just get away with running the ball because we have such a large line and
Great
tough
line.
back.
Yeah.
But credit to Londonderry, that wasn't easy to do. That was a lot harder. And so then it required to go to other parts, but we weren't ready for other parts.
Last point, having no crowd there in the first on as the visitors. How does that affect, do you think, the players, coaches, the culture of the game? Any thoughts on that, Coach?
I had a feeling in that game that I was going back to the old Manchester Jamboree days.
Wow.
That I was at Gill Stadium on the sideline with next to no fans around and just could hear everything that was going on the field. It was a strange situation. It's going to continue to be a strange situation. But I don't think that had any bearing on the game at all. I don't think that if we had a Pinkerton crowd there, for example, that it would have changed much.
You just have great fans. I missed them.
We do. No,
great
I do
fans.
too. I mean, we'll be home this Friday night, so we'll get some fans there. But even then, we're limited in who can come. The kids can't come, so you're not going to have any student body there.
Right.
But listen, we're all just happy to be playing.
Amen.
And bring some normalcy back to life a little bit after. And we're still not out of this, and who knows what's going to happen when the flu season comes.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people are thinking like, well, it's all over now. And you know what? I hope you're right, but I'm afraid you're not.
Right. Thanks, Coach.
We'll see.
Coach, good luck in the home opener against Nashua South on Friday, and thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate the time.
Oh, anytime you want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Again, that's longtime Pinkerton head coach Brian O'Reilly, fresh out of the weight room over there at Pinkerton Academy.
Fresh out of the weight room, but extremely aware of where his team is at the current time. That initial rundown, Nick, after your first question there, I think you hit it when you talked to him about, where the way he just laid that out. He's completely in tune. He knows exactly where he is, and he knows exactly where he's going to go week to week. And he's not even promising the next week or the next. This is a process that he's going to have to go through this season. It sounds to me like they were very careful over at Pinkerton Academy. Not that other teams weren't, but they were extra careful. If you hear him talk about making sure that they limited the sort of things that they did, would have liked to have done more. But I really think that inside running game really needs scrimmages, and that hurt him the other night.
Or just reps.
It's just reps. Yeah, absolutely. But the running game, you really need to do reps. It's not that. And the thing is the passing routes, your 7-on-7 is essentially social distancing anyway. So they can work that through, but it's hard to get that ground and pound, very intricate game that he coaches, the running game. He does it as good as anybody I've ever seen. And I think with each week of practice, they're going to be able to ramp that up and, watch it. I think they're going to be right there. I really do.
Week number 2 already on the doorstep. Friday night, our Friday Night Lights New Hampshire coverage, I believe, will be in the Gate City as Nashua North, the number 1 team in the minds of many, in action against Merrimack in a neighboring town battle. We're going to try and get that confirmed and shored up over the next couple of days. But, we'll keep you in the loop. Obviously, follow us on social media and check out the channel on YouTube, FNLNH Media. And, again, we're going to try and make that official. But most likely we'll be in Nashua at Stello Stadium for Merrimack at Nashua North Friday, and then potentially some bonus coverage on Saturday as well as we look to go back to Londonderry to see Salem at Londonderry. So a big FNLNH doubleheader coming up Friday night with Merrimack and North going at it, and then Saturday Salem is at Londonderry. Steve, you have one more thing.
Just one more quick thing. This is not related to New Hampshire football, but the whole world of football lost, in my opinion, the greatest running back that ever played the game. I love the guy, Gale Sayers. I never saw him personally. I was too young. I was just a young kid. But I have spent incredible amounts of time watching him run and watching highlights of him and watching, just admiring him all my life as a man. Boy, do we need those type of people, those tough, strong, but yet he was just a great man. I think that Jim Brown was the greatest running back that ever lived, but I think that Gale Sayers was the best runner that ever lived. And I'll tell you, that guy was an incredible, with his teammates, the Kansas Comet, they called him. So rest in peace, Gale Sayers. You inspired many, many people, and to his family and all. They'll never probably hear us, but certainly respected him as a person and as a player, and he will be missed.
One of the titans of the game,
wow,
for sure. All right. That just about does it for us. We want to thank Roger Brown, excuse me, of the New Hampshire Football Report. You can read his stuff on the New Hampshire Union Leader as well, but Roger's own operation, his own website, really a must-go-to if you're in search of a source for high school football. That's
Wikipedia.
NHFootballReport.com. Again, NHFootballReport.com. I want to thank Coach Lozon of Londonderry again for joining us from the practice field, and, of course, Brian O'Reilly of the Pinkerton Astros, their head coach and athletic director. Steve, your final thoughts here before we say goodbye.
I just want to see the kids stay healthy, and I want the coaches and these senior kids especially to be able to have something that they can look back on that so many other players before them have had that opportunity to do. And let's hope and pray that happens. And as the weather gets colder, protocols stay in place. But I'll tell you one thing. There's some very good football teams out there, and they got these teams ready in short order, and it was. I look forward to the rest of the year. And
absolutely.
Love working with you. I really missed it.
Absolutely. It was good to get back in the saddle with you as well. I want to thank Ben Beals, the man behind the curtain. Our new producer on site on Friday made a world of difference and making things smoother here on Mondays as well. We appreciate Ben. For Steve Beals, I'm Nick Anastas saying so long. This has been FNL Rewind presented by Beals Insurance.